Platoon guide, what are you doing? Get over here, I gotta count. You've been running late all morning. You should have been in by 5:30.
People on guard, dude.
You're missing 3 guards. I know what you're missing. Forward! Yeah, give me 10, platoon guide. Didn't echo the supplementary command. Get down and give me 10.
1 to your side, 2 to your side, 3 to your side, 4 to your side, 5 to your side, 6 to your side, 7 to your side, 8 to your side, 9 to your side, 10 to your side. Request permission to cover to your side.
Get up, platoon guide. Start again. Forward!
Forward!
Forward! Pull left, pull left, pull left, right, Charlie! Pull left, right, Charlie! Incline to your left up front, right on the first platoon. Incline to your left up front.
Incline to your left.
Pull left, right, Charlie! Pull left, pull left, pull left, right, Charlie! Mark time.
Walk time.
Hurt. Pull left, right, Charlie! Pull left, right, Charlie! 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2. Cup the hand, cup the hand. Thumb touching the first joint of the forefinger. Swing the arms, 9 inches to the front, 6 inches to the rear. Look out between your eyes, dress the man on your right, the man on your left. 1, 2, 3, pull left, right, Charlie! Pull left, right, Charlie! Pull left, right, Charlie! 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2. Pull left, right, Charlie! Pull left, right, Charlie! Get up there, road guards. Pull left, pull left, pull left, right, Charlie! Pull it right!
Continue to march!
Hurt! Pull left, pull left, pull left, right, Charlie! Pull left, right, Charlie! 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2. Pull left, right, Charlie! Pull left, right, Charlie! 1, 2, 3, 4.
What makes the good guys and the bad guys? How can you tell the difference?
Because of the different countries.
And
They don't like each other. The countries aren't in relationship.
why don't they like each other?
Because they're not in relationship. Whatever that is. Maybe they're wearing a different color uniform or something. And they fight for land.
Other people fight over for other people's country because they want to take over the other people's countries.
Why do you think they want to do that?
Because they think that they're all big.
Because they want to protect their country, and because they don't want people to cheat, people to slave them and everything.
What do you need to play army? What are some of the things you need? Or how do you play?
Guns and bombs and special uniforms.
Charlie,
My dad has a book that he gave to me when he was in the army.
I know how to play army. My mommy's dad went in the army, and my uncle.
Who do you think plays army better, boys or girls?
Boys.
Why is that?
Because girls don't join the army.
So a lot of people think that boys are tougher than girls.
They are. Because I always hit and kick and everything like that, and I think that's awful.
And girls are mellow.
And girls are mellow and they just play around. That's why they don't put girls in the army.
Yeah, there's girls in the army.
Oh, nurses, doctors. I mean,
Sad I sit on Butternut Hill. Here I sit and cry my fill, and every tear would turn a mill. Johnny has gone for a soldier.
This is a film about relationships. It's about a masculine contest under a military condition. While women have been re-examining their role in society for some time, men have just begun to consider the effects of masculine socialization. Hundreds of millions of men have marched through world history in uniform. My father was one of the 16 million American men who fought in World War II. At 17, he left the farm in Ohio to fight in the Pacific against the Japanese. I wanted to find out, from our history and our present, some of the reasons why those of us who are men become warriors. I wanted to look back at the culture that molded us as we grew. I decided to talk with veterans from World War I to Vietnam, to men who have recently joined, as well as those who have made the military their career. I wanted to explore the consequences of the military experience on our lives, our relationships, and our emotions. This is a film about the unknown soldier.
His story, it may be true and it may not be true. My grandfather told me history is truth, but his story may be a lie. That's where the word history came from, his story.
How did you hear about the war?
Oh my goodness, everybody knew about it. You heard by the newspapers, you heard by voice from different people. I wanted to participate in it. Oh, I was living in Cleveland, Tennessee when the war broke out, 1914. And I decided, now that I'm 21 years old, I'm my own man, and I'll do as I please. I may not be a general, but I'm going to do the best I've got. I'd say the vast majority of people were very patriotic. They were not hating Germans because they were Germans or calling them Huns, but they was very intent on winning the war. The whole theme seemed to be to win.
What do you think it takes to make a good coach? A football team?
Gotta be mean. Practice hard, gotta be mean.
Why do you have to be mean, do you think?
So the people will listen to you.
Yeah?
So your team will be good.
Uh-huh.
They won't be sissies.
Wait, do you think it's bad being a sissy?
No. Yep. Yeah.
What's a sissy? What makes a guy a sissy?
Let somebody be scared on the line. Yeah, when they're scared to hit the boy, when a boy cry, because they get popped. Yeah.
You watch for the ball, okay? This is the ball. This is the man with the ball. This is the big fullback coming through. I want you to tear his head off. I want you to hit it low, down here. Not here, down here. And I want you to wrap your arms around it. You got that?
Yeah!
I can't hear you.
Yeah!
All right.
When I was a boy, we played cops and robbers, Indians and etc., with swords and daggers and knives and bow and arrows and darts and etc. But now, they have nuclear weapons, the children. You see, the younger generation growing up. They're becoming familiarized with modern techniques of warfare.
There was this whole thing around trying to prove myself. You know, I went into the military because I was a man and it was expected and all that kind of thing. A lot of my friends were going, well, the war was going on. That was 1968, and the Vietnam War was at its height. I was not really doing anything. I was just like hanging around. The fact that I was in a relationship with this woman that took a real bad turn for the worse. Plus I had fantasies of being John Wayne at some point. It's a thing where you've grown up in this myth of, you know, this culture that we have here of America, that if you're a man, that you have, you know, there's movies, there's whatever, there's school, and you're always expected to be this certain kind of person, you know, that's tough, violent, whatever. And it's just like, from the time you're 5 years old, you're in basic training.
You mean this way? Yeah, like this. You get the idea? This is where we separate the men from the boys. Yes, Mom. I've got a little business to take care of for Blake.
Gee, I hope this is a long war. I want to get in it, too.
But I got a little medal for you here. I got it in the last war. You put it in your pocket. Might be a pretty good luck piece to you. Gosh, I remember the day that general pinned it on me. You know how those French generals are. They put them on you and then kiss you on both cheeks.
As a boy, I had no other alternative. As I was the product of the Second World War, I had no other choice. I was highly skilled and trained properly in the area of military warfare. That type of occupation at the time was very rewarding, dealing with a certain type of status you are given, and also a part of a certain group that are considered elite. It was very difficult to recreate my emotion, you know, when 18 years ago, I'm in my 40s. The emotions, like any teenager, of course, the emotion of we're always seeking excitement, challenge, curiosity, if you want to call curiosity a form of emotion. Emotion of anger, emotion of frustration, all are present like any human being. But most of the emotions are controlled, fairly regimented, and guided properly for service of the military force.
With your heels together and your hands at your sides, raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, James Franklin Langford,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. You can stand easy now.
Over 30 million men living in this country today have been through the process of basic training, like these men arriving at Fort Bliss, Texas. Historically, basic training has been considered an introduction to manhood. For many young men, this is the first time that they have been away from family, from women, from children, and from old people.
All right, let's go.
For a period of from 6 to 24 weeks, they will learn the basics of being a soldier. How does the military go about changing a civilian into a soldier? And what effect will this have on his personal life and his concept of his manhood?
The purpose of basic training is, as we see it here, is to transition a young man coming into the Army and condition him into being able to receive orders, comply with those orders, and be disciplined so that he will be able to react to any command given him under duress or in case of war.
All right, gentlemen, face to the right. Face me. All right, gentlemen, from here you're going to move into the barber shop where you're going to get a regulation haircut. The barber's not there to style your hair. Move it around to the left and the right, along the wall.
Okay, gentlemen, who's next over here? Okay, anybody, hurry up.
Right.
A1.
Pull it up.
Yes, sir. Okay, right in the barber shop.
You're going to save on combs and shampoo. You won't need it. Once you get out into that desert, for the rifle range, you'll discover that it's much easier to have your hair short. You get sand and long hair and let it get a little greasy, and it gets a little bit miserable. And this afternoon, when you get your clothing issue, you'll get approximately $370 worth of clothing. Free.
The purpose of the Army is to defend your country, and if you don't have an army, obviously you're going to be overrun by someone, whether it be internal or external. I think that the reasons a man comes in today are basically the same as when I come in.
33. Get your pick. Get white. Get that next section.
And I have been in the military for 28 and a half years. I came into the Army out of high school, mainly because of wanting to see the world, really. I had never been out of my hometown at that time, nor had any of my family.
Inside the bag. Inside the bag. Take that, put them on.
Might as well spend 20 years in here than spend 20 out there. Same thing.
Why do you think it's better in here than it is out there?
Well, you know, at least you have some place to stay. You're getting paid for it. You ain't in here for nothing for the help.
Right. What about you?
Save some money.
Save some money? Do you think money's important?
Yeah, sure.
Is there anything more important than money?
I don't think so. Here, man.
What's more important than school? School?
Sure.
Could you go to school outside?
Sure you can. It costs a lot more, but they pay for most of it.
Great.
Wait, I want to say something. Well, you know, like it's different. You know, like if you come up in type of poverty, you don't have no choice but to come off of it. Now, if you come from a family that have money, well, that's a different story. I didn't come from that kind of home. You know what I mean? So I don't have no alternative but to come here and try to get the more school than I can. So, you know, coming for education too.
Get up! Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Good morning. Good morning. Get your butt out of that bed. Get your feet on the floor. Get up, White. Get up. Get up, get up, get up, get up. You think this is a Holiday Inn? Get up. Get your feet on the floor.
Well, my uncle, he had told me about, you know, the Army. And so I decided, well, I'll go down and sign up, you know. So I went down and talked to the recruiter, me and my uncle. So we went down there, we were talking to him. He says it's a good place to be. And besides, it'll make a man out of you, you know. And I said, yeah, I hope it does.
I was a pre-med major, and I ran out of money. So I came into the Army to get the GI Bill. You know, the cutoff date was 31 December. So that I could get the GI Bill, so when I get out of this thing, I'm going to go back to school.
What are some of the different reasons you think that men join?
Education. And a job. Job market. It's hard to get a job anywhere now.
$374 a month ain't bad. They can buy all your meals and clothes.
Working with the government.
Is it harder to get a job outside, do you think?
The world is rough to get a job. It is. It's I was living in Arizona, and it was, you had a lot of jobs, but they're all $2.50 jobs, and nothing you could really make a living at. The whole paycheck went into your rent. And
we're not out here to kill people, that's for sure. We're not out here to. We
have to.
We're just here to.
We kill people when we have to. That's all. That's the training. That's what the training is for. Freedom.
Well, I have to look at basic training and put it in the context of the rest of my experience in the military. In that sense, I would say that it was probably the easiest part of being in the service. I mean, you know, the training was fun and games as far as. I mean, I didn't think so all the time during the period when I was in training, but I look back and then I look on it, and it was a lot of it was real fun and games. But the other thing of for sure, there's definitely a conscious effort by the military to make you emotionally numb and insensitive and all that. And I mean, that's part of the whole conception of what a good soldier is.
Rip! Seat!
Altitude's ready to go! Altitude's ready to go! Altitude's ready to great! Altitude's first rate! Stay cool! Altitude, stay cool!
All right, is everyone ready to fire this Period 10 I was telling you about this morning?
Yes,
all right, remember me saying, first of all, this morning, you're going to have to pay attention. If you do not pay attention here, and you do not pay attention to that tower, you're going to get lost. And you're going to be doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. Consequently, someone is going to be yelling at you. So to prevent going through all those changes, all you have to do is pay attention to what I'm going to tell you right now and listen to the tower commands.
Any civilian cannot be conditioned or trained to become a soldier. A soldier life it's a quite different life from a civilian life. It's a highly regimented, controlled, regulated life. Civilian life is much more flexible. A certain type of personality may be needed to be a member of the armed forces.
The way we go about it is to give them a full day's orientation as to exactly what will happen. And then we use the drill and ceremony technique, the marching technique, to have the man respond to commands and to do what we ask him to do. That is the best technique the Army has, in my judgment, of conditioning the mind and having the man listen, because he must respond very militarily to these commands, and as a result he must pay attention. And that in turn eliminates the young man from his mind wandering.
If you listen closely,
You learn a lot.
you learn a lot.
That's right. You learn a lot.
And you go a long way.
That's why we're here right now.
That's right. That's right.
First day you here, you know a lot more than what you knew before.
Definitely. It's a thing that you have to get into, that you have to set your mind to really, like, stank yourself out somewhat. You know, that you can do it, and you're gonna do it, so you do it. That's it.
And we got good spirit in this platoon. I mean, we do. We want to be number one. We are. We're going to be. That's it.
As long as
Sunday will tell us, because Sunday
we will be number one.
Sunday we have a PT test.
Do you think it's important? Do you have a competition?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's mainly.
That's what motivates a person. Really. There's other two platoons.
See which one gonna be the best platoon, and everyone knows who's the best platoon out here.
Right, it's the third
don't
platoon.
you third platoon? Second platoon gonna be the best, just as long as that one. Bravo battery leads the way.
That's right.
And we're gonna we're gonna get all those streamers.
That's
We're gonna get them back. We're gonna keep those streamers.
right.
We're gonna take we're gonna take those streamers from Echo and Charlie. Charlie battery got a streamer we want. Right, Bravo? We're gonna get it back. We're gonna get him.
That's right. Everybody here's everybody else's buddy. It's the only person you got. You can't trust them, 178 of us in this battery, and 177 of us got another buddy, you know.
Did you know anyone before you came in?
No, I knew one person. I didn't know anybody when I walked in here. Now I got my whole platoon's my buddy.
The kind of relationships that you build with people are very intense. I mean, you're thrown together with strangers, essentially. I mean, there's people there from predominantly a working class makeup, a lot of black people, Chicanos, Latinos. There's a lot of, like, poor white redneck types from the South also. I mean, there was a certain amount of camaraderie and dependency upon each other, but that always happens in a situation like that, where you're with people 24 hours a day and you're dependent upon them for your survival. And that's kind of a natural thing that the military had nothing to do with.
We have some good men, real good men. But of course, you always have that few every time, you know, always. Out of 60 men, you can't have them all perfect. There's got to be fat ones, short ones, tall ones, skinny ones.
Why do you think it's necessary to be hard with them, to be tough?
Well, the discipline. You have to set that discipline. You cannot accomplish anything unless you have the discipline. And we always start in very hard, instilling the discipline, and then as time goes on, we ease up a little bit at a time, and they start operating on their own, a little bit at a time, and then pretty soon they really don't even miss it. You know, they don't even know what's happening to them until it's all over with, and then they look back and say, "Well, damn, that was easy." But while they're going through it, it's difficult.
You think some of you guys are harder than others on the men?
Well,
We've got about the hardest drills on this hill.
What are some of the things you do to give them discipline?
Scare them. Yeah.
You think it's important that they're scared of you?
In the beginning it is, because they don't know what they're coming up against. They don't know what we've got to do. We've got a short period of time to teach them a whole lot in, and we have to have their full attention and everything we get them, try to teach them. So we got about the only way we can do that and really make them pay attention to us is to really scare them. I think make them think we're going to jump straight down their throat every time they even look somewhere else. So pay strictly attention to what we're doing.
What about you? Do you find that to be true?
It's about the same thing. You've got to instill at them when you give them an order. They've got to respond immediately to you because you've got that time factor involved. You've got 6 to 7 weeks. You've got to train in the basics of being a soldier. And it's like they say, you're making a soldier out of a civilian. If I sit there and take time to explain all my actions to them, every time I decide something, I run out of time and I fail to accomplish my mission as a drill sergeant.
Basic training is just what it says. It's like you come in and it's basic combat training. You get your basic skills down and they indoctrinate you, take your identity away from you, you know, put you in green, cut your hair, kind of indoctrinate you, or do the initial part of the grounding indoctrination and the violence that you have to be. From day one of training, the whole thing was geared to make you an efficient fighting machine, or in military terms as a combat unit, a fighting unit, a certain type of macho killer. Males that grow up in the United States or in any place are conditioned, you know, the social values to a certain amount of sexism. And the way they do it is they just, you know, over-amplify it. You know, all the drilling sergeants are always bragging about how many women they're laying and this and that. And the men that are there who are not, say, particularly masculine or particularly aggressive are referred to as girls and women and pussy and all that. And it's kind of another way of making you feel superior, or try to get you to take a certain amount of, or feel a certain amount of superiority over other people.
Look at that, they're too quick.
It's a very well-defined power structure that exists in the military. It's hierarchical, rigid. All the power comes down from the top, and if you're at the bottom, which most people are, there's not very much you can do. You can file petitions. There's the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ, that's got 100 and some articles, which is kind of like the Constitution or the law or the whatever. And if you're a private or a sergeant or anything, you know, just a peon, you don't really have any rights.
Present horn. Now, notice. Drill Sergeant Crutcher's arm is approximately parallel to the ground. His forearm is straight, the wrist is straight, the fingers are extended and joined, the thumb is tucked in. He is just touching the brim of his helmet liner. Any type headgear you have on, you would touch the brim with your fingertips. Notice he is still at the position of attention.
The first premise, you have to go with the first premise that we have. The first book that was ever written was written by Moses. In the beginning, 3 words. You had to have a starting point. And Moses said, that God said, for man to replenish the earth and have dominion over it and over the animals and the fish and the fowl of the other kingdoms. But man misconstrued that statement. He thought it meant to have dominion over man.
What about obedience? Do you think it's necessary to teach them the rank structure and how that works?
Yes, because they have to be able to recognize who's in a position of authority instantaneously in most cases. So we drill pretty heavy on rank structure, how to recognize ranks, thing along this line.
This makes him productive too, you know, not only in the military, when he leaves the military, right? It makes him, he builds his own self-discipline. He can think on his own, you know. It gives him confidence to go out and look for a job, you know. A lot of these kids come in, they're 17, 18, 19 years old. They never had discipline at home. And the way he reacts depends on the environment he was raised up in. And to change that, we just sort of break him down, and then we build him back up the way we want him. And this, you know, it not only helps the Army, but it helps him when he leaves the Army. It makes him a productive person in society also.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Overflow, look out below. Got flooded love coming down on me. I said now, overflow, don't go slow. Thing called love just won't let me be. Try to take my time when I stay in line. Magician, well, I'm looking all around. I think I'm gonna drown. 3 other love magicians, I said.
Can you tell me, why do you think most of the guys come in here?
Either to get drunk or find girls.
Do you think they're successful at both, or what do you think?
90% of them fail at finding girls. Getting drunk, no. They succeed at that. A lot of these guys, they come in like 17 and 18 years old, right out of high school. They don't know what to expect out of the world, but they give it a try. A lot of them find they can't hack it, so they get discharged before their time's up. Like, I came from a life of family. My grandfather was a chief when he retired. My father was a chief when he retired. I might be a chief if I retire, unless they kick me out first.
Were they involved in wars?
My grandfather was in World War I, my father was in World War II and the Korean War.
What about you?
Well, I was in during Vietnam, but I never saw any action.
How do you feel about your Navy career? What's it been like?
I screwed the Navy more than the Navy screwed me.
You think that's true for most of the guys?
It's true of the lifers.
Throughout history, the female has been relatively absent from the decision-making process. World history revolves around men in that it concerns itself with wars and nations. Early historians were also men hired by kings, leaders, and the winning government powers. Why has the business of war been almost exclusively the territory of men?
Well, women through history have been known as the weaker sex, or the type of individuals that you would not think of as using a gun and firing and shooting at someone else.
Women can't make it in combat. At least I don't think so.
Why's that?
Well, for one thing is that women look ridiculous out there in the Army field, you know, out on the field. And the men look more better, you know, because they got more qualifications for it.
How do you personally feel about women protecting the country?
No, I don't think that they would be capable of protecting the country like we think of the country being protected or should be protected. No, I really don't believe it. Sometimes a woman becomes a little unpredictable, but I always know what this thing is going to do under a given set of conditions. If I add power, I know the airplane's going to go faster. If I take power off, it's going to go down. But sometimes, you know, you can't outguess a woman. You don't really know. They'll surprise you. And I've been flying this airplane for 12 years, and I kind of have a love for it. It's been good to me, and it's treated me well. I've never gotten me any difficulty. It's just a good airplane. A certain thing an airplane doesn't have that a woman has, and that's emotions. You know, an aircraft, you give it gas and oil and take care of it, and it's going to run. No, I think the airplane is easier to handle.
They can do a lot more damage than we can, I think.
Like I said before, I think there ought to be the woman, the lady, the one put up on the pedestal, and the men should protect and work for her. That's just my idea, old-time ideas. If they want to do something, fine, let them, but otherwise I think we ought to be the one to protect her. And a lot of them aren't suited physically to go into combat like that.
What about psychologically?
They may be psychologically better.
Why do you think?
If they can handle staying in one place like some housewives do, staying in one place and doing nothing but the same routine all the time, I figure, you know, because I couldn't do that. I have to move. I have to be going somewhere, doing something.
Yeah, they have a lot of patience.
Yeah, they have a lot more patience than men do. Right.
So if there was, for instance, a war to break out, let's create a hypothetical war, what do you think the role of women would be in the military?
Gee, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know that we've ever given that a thought. I think that they will be used to a great degree in the supply area and in the probably in the administrative area. Now, whether or not they would go to combat units, I question that right now. It may, in the very distant future, come to that, but I doubt that.
Goodbye, dear, I'll be back in a year, 'cause I'm in the army now. They took my number out of a hat, and there's nothing a guy...
In America's 9 wars, few women have participated in battle, yet many have served. Each war has left its legacy in our culture. Millions of women, like my mother, became Rosie the Riveter in World War II. Historically, women have served as the waiting wife, the devoted girlfriend, and the widow who buys war bonds. She has dedicated her labor and her emotions to backing up her man in battle. She has been willing to trust her man in uniform and the men who lead him. Her service on the home front has made it possible for him to go to war.
I'd like a couple of dozen military marches, please.
Johnny, what happened to you?
Nothing, I just changed clothes.
You've enlisted.
Well, you knew it was going to happen sooner or later.
Oh, you look wonderful in that uniform.
Not any better than the rest of the fellas. We all have the same tailor.
He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was the top man at his craft. But then his number came up and he was gone with the draft. He's in the army now, a blowing reveille. He's the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B.
While it is one thing to consider the woman waiting at home, it is another to consider the role of the woman in the battle zone, in the territory of occupation. How do our men relate to enemy women, and how might this change their concept of womanhood?
Part of basic training and infantry school and the whole indoctrination is to try to dehumanize the enemy. Because you're essentially asked to go out and commit acts of violence on people, other human beings. And part of the military strategy to be successful in that is to dehumanize the enemy. So we were encouraged to call Vietnamese people gooks. Rape was tacitly approved by the military. Prostitution was viewed as like an okay thing. But wherever there's armies, there's always prostitution. Whenever there's large bodies of men who are away from like a normal family type situation, a social situation, there's prostitution usually. that was the reality of the situation. It was either you could be satisfied with masturbating all the time, you could go to a prostitute, or you could find somebody to rape. And the brass kind of looked the other way when there was a lot of rapes, because that was kind of a way to break the will of the people to fight, in other words. That has as much to do with racism as it does with sexism. It's like all the people over there were, inferior to us anyway. The women were doubly inferior because they were Vietnamese and because they were women.
Every military institutions attempt to indoctrinate or condition or propagandize or educate the forces to how to deal with the enemy forces. Dehumanization process is one of the very important psychological conditioning procedures. In my opinion, dehumanization is necessary to legitimize war. We need to dehumanize I shouldn't say we, but military forces often dehumanize the enemy forces to a level where they may use ethnopholetic terms such as barbaric people, heathens, people that are anti-God, anti-democracy. So give a certain legitimate justification for war.
This is America. America, where we make war with machines, power, sweat. America, where we make justice. Justice for the soldiers of Japan who tossed Chinese babies on their bayonets. Justice for the soldiers of Japan who buried Chinese men and women alive. But America has the answer. Every forging kills a Jap. Every tank kills a Jap. Every gun kills a Jap.
And first of all, you have to dehumanize yourself first before you dehumanize your opponent, your enemy, the forces you're fighting. So soldiers don't ask these questions. Soldiers perform their duties. And if I do ask questions, I won't be a missionary in the first place. I'll be a philosopher. If we do not dehumanize, it's very difficult to annihilate, to murder or to kill an enemy without feeling of shame and guilt. And also give a certain sense of legitimacy to your behavior, a form of justification.
I really didn't make any kind of break with that whole indoctrination until I was in the military in Vietnam with a gun in my hand, looking at other people with guns in their hands. And at that point, I really began to seriously question like the whole concept, the whole thing of who I was and what I had become, or what I had grown up to be in America as a man. You get up and you go out and you go do this battle scene, and people would die, and you'd wonder why did they die?
What was it like for you when you came back out of combat back to the United States?
Well, I was in a rage. There's no other way to put it. I mean, mildly to tone it down or anything. I was just, I had felt, what I felt at that point was that I had been raised in a lie, and America was a lie, and that everything I had been taught was a lie, and I was angry about it. I was just absolutely furious. And I wanted everybody to know, what we were doing over there was wrong, and the truth to come out. And that's kind of what I felt. I felt guilty on some levels for having gone there, for having been duped into going. I had no patience with anybody, in terms of, it was like I was walking around with, like I was plugged into, 220 volts of electricity somewhere. I mean, just all the time like that, and that was like for a year and a half, you know, being in that kind of space.
Why do you think that men fight in wars?
That's difficult to answer. There's a lot of reasons men fight in wars. First of all, if you shoot at me and I shoot and I don't have anything to shoot back with, I'm going to either die, be wounded, or run. I think that it's a retaliatory situation in many cases. Of course, I think wars are fought because of political reasons rather than military reasons. I think it all stems from the political machine and then goes from there. And I think if you look back in history, you'll find that almost every war was a political war initially.
My opinion is that it's related to territoriality. Territoriality I'm using in a very broad sense, dealing with the geographical territory or economic, political territories. I think territoriality could be one of the major reasons or the common thread across all wars.
Have you ever killed a person?
Persons.
Having never done that, maybe you can tell me, what does that feel like?
It's not a pleasant experience. I've seen some of my buddies seems to find it pleasurable. It has never been a pleasant experience for me. I was doing my job, and you were rewarded accordingly.
Members of the military, our charming ladies, Gold Star, members of the city, county, state, government, ladies and gentlemen. We've assembled here today to honor our war dead. In July 1776, Thomas Jefferson, who had written the Declaration of Independence, said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Since that time, more than 2 million Americans in uniform have died in defense of freedom.
The justification for war. Yeah, it's another search for reassurance or self-assurance of our maleness, I suppose, our manhood. And of course, in a wrong way, I think it's uniting men in a cause. It's not being good, but it is a unifying effect for some, I think, fallacy, you know, where we don't destroy each other individually, but collectively, you know, it's like, okay, you know, government sanction and all. And it's still, that man is being killed on the other side. It's a father, a husband, a son. And I say this after being in World War II, 5 brothers. Had the largest family in service. And lost one in Iwo Jima, but
how do you remember your son? What was he like?
Oh, he was a handsome boy, and he was very good boy. The 2 boys are very good to me. And I remember him the way he was before he left for the war.
Well, in those days we felt patriotic. We did what we felt we had to do. We both enlisted. And I still feel patriotic. I would still protect what is mine. I think there are wars because people are never satisfied with what they have. They're too greedy, they're too selfish. They always want what someone else has. They always want more than they have. And it's been the custom for men to fight. That's been the concept since wars began.
I still hurt all the time. Oh, I feel like if I wanted I to.
Oh, soldiers! Oh, soldiers! Combat soldiers! Combat soldiers! If I die in a combat zone, if I die in a combat zone, box me up and send me home. Box me up and send me home.
Our men get inculcated in their minds, call it brainwashing. They get inculcated in their minds about war, and then they become remorseful. And they're practically done. It's very hard to rehabilitate them back into the state they were before the war, because they don't want to forgive themselves and forget yesterday and step on into tomorrow. And until they do that, they'll be that way.
When we come out from war, it takes a long period of adjustment and adaptation to the civilian life. The children suffer, the wives suffer from emotional stress. And so any type of war is an emotional stress to both parties, the soldiers, also the families.
I mean, over the years since then, I've run into veterans, you know, here and there, and I kind of try to talk to them and find out what's happening. And there's people that are walking around now, still, 8, 10 years later, and they drown themselves in alcohol, you know, and then they're cynical about everything. Yeah, I was in Vietnam, damn, they really messed us over there, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, and there's like, it's like, you can't really contact these people. It's really hard. They're like in this shell, this ironclad shell that's around them. And they're violent, angry, and they have undirected rage. And it's like they have never been able to, people haven't been able to help them, you know, to hook that up politically.
Well, it has something to do with economics, of course, and then too, it's so I think some of it is to hold the people in subjection, or pacified, or subdued, or docile, or manageable, I think. We came out of the Depression, we went into World War II. And then we made an enemy of the, during the advent of the Cold War, and then on to Korea. And there's been no end to it.
Peace is the problem for man, and it's his problem all over the world. You see it in the toys that the kids play with. You see it in the behavior of society, how they live catechized like I am. This is just a little catacomb. I'm just another catechumist, that's all. I'm a macamist, but I'm just another catechumist. Not by my own will, but by the convenience of my society in which I lived in.
Maybe you guys can tell me, what would you do if there was a war?
Fight. Who do you think, if we were to get involved in a war, who do you think the enemy would be?
Russia.
Vietnam all over again.
Soviet Union.
Personally, I believe China would probably.
Do you believe that?
I really couldn't say no. No.
What about you?
Might be in the Middle East someplace.
That's what I was thinking.
Middle East?
Over the oil or something.
Middle East.
Oh, yes, sir. It's not like they give us an awful lot of choice.
We don't really have a choice.
Well, it's more of we enlisted, you know, we volunteered for it, and we knew what we were getting into when we volunteered. So if there's a war, you know, we'll go.
Is it necessary for men to think this way, to live this way? What good might this energy be used for? One cannot speak of the military without speaking of masculinity. The two cannot be separated. World militaries have been created by, perpetuated by, and maintained by groups of men. Will boys continue to grow up to be soldiers? will our sons and daughters pay for the wars of the future? Is politics and territoriality an expression of masculinity? Is power based on economics, on armaments, or the strength or numbers of warriors? Yet beneath the politics, the flags, and the uniforms of opposing teams, beneath the haircuts, the medals, and the honor, we are just men. Is it possible to redirect our competitive and aggressive instincts? It has been said that the way you perceive the future determines what the future will be. The time has come to discover a new direction.
One, two.